Mark Levin, they call him the Great One, host of Life, Liberty, and Levin on this network, as well as his radio program. Mark, you were on our program 2 years ago on Fox and Friends Weekend saying you believed that the Obama team was spying on the Trump team. No one was talking about it then. You were. Here we are today with the Mueller report 675 days later. Your take on where we are.
You know, 2 years ago, all I did is I pulled together media reports, because the FBI and the Department of Justice were leaking to the media. How else will we know about two FISA requests? How else will we know that the intelligence agencies were unmasking? How else will we know any of these things? And the reason is they were leaking at the FBI, and now we know it's a fact. They were leaking at the Department of Justice. Now we know it's a fact. And so all I did is put together the different exhibits from the different media outlets, including the New York Times, McClatchy, and so forth. And the general parameters of this were laid out, and they were stunning at the time. And I might add, there was a chorus of media attacking me as a conspiracy theorist and everything. How can I be a conspiracy theorist when I'm reading their reporting? What we have here is Mediagate. Now, what do I mean by that? We have had thousands and thousands of stories on cable TV, on network TV, in the New York Times, Washington Post, exclusives, anonymous, government officials, former government officials, lying to us about conspiracies, coming indictments, lying to us about obstruction and meetings that took place. Just fed stuff by the federal government, by the Obama administration previously, fed stuff by the bureaucracy, fed stuff by the Hillary campaign, like the dossier. We had an iron triangle here. The Hillary campaign that funded the dossier, the Obama administration, the Department of Justice, FBI, and the intelligence agencies, and the media. And the media, which is supposed to watch the powerful, the media, which is supposed to watch the government, threw in with this government in order to take out Donald Trump. Now, I want to talk about a few things because it's getting a little convoluted with the endless speculation out there. Bill Barr is not part of the Postal Service, where he picks up the report and gives it to Congress. This regulation has been in place for 20 years, since the Clinton administration. His job is to look at this report to make sure there isn't secret 6E grand jury information, which legally is not permitted to be made public. It's his job to make sure that FBI raw notes, 301s, are not distributed publicly. It's his job to make sure classified information is not distributed publicly. And, believe it or not, it's his job to make sure that people aren't smeared who haven't been charged. Bill Barr and the executive branch, they're not the impeachment arm of the House of Representatives for the Democrats. The special counsel report to the Attorney General is not an impeachment report for the House Democrats. Let me remind you about Leon Jaworski, the Watergate special prosecutor. They like to talk about Watergate. So do I. The vast majority of the Watergate report was under seal until just a few years ago. And here's why. This is a quote, if we have 30 seconds, from Leon Jaworski for the American people. For the Watergate special prosecutor to make public the evidence it gathered concerning the former president and others who were not charged with criminal offenses would be to add another abuse of power to those that led to the creation of the special prosecutor's office. The federal rules of criminal procedure, this is Watergate, prohibit the disclosure of information presented to a grand jury except as necessary in the course of criminal proceedings. And he says, most important, in terms of the American constitutional system of government, is the notion of fundamental fairness for those who, after investigation, have not been charged with any criminal misconduct. This consideration, he wrote, is particularly important for a special prosecutor whose independence considerably reduces his accountability and who must be unusually sensitive to possible abuses of its power. It is a basic axiom of our system of justice that every man is innocent until proven guilty after judicial proceedings designed to protect his rights to ensure a fair adjudication of the charges against him. Where no such charges are brought, it would be irresponsible and unethical for a prosecutor to issue a report suggesting criminal conduct on the part of an individual who has no effective means of challenging the allegations against him or of requiring the prosecutor to establish charges beyond a reasonable doubt. Now, what are the Democrats doing? The Democrats are now trying to interfere with the criminal justice system, trying to undermine exactly what this prosecutor said during Watergate, trying to undermine the regulations that have been in existence, the law, for 20 years. They're threatening the Attorney General with subpoenas. They're threatening the special counsel with subpoenas. They're demanding access to all this secret information, all the underlying information. They want the Attorney General to violate his oath, to violate the regulations, a 20-year law. And if they get their way in this case, they can presumably do it in any criminal case.
Mark, it could go even deeper, because if you look at what former top FBI and CIA officials have said for the last 2 years, they have tried to create a narrative that set this up, suggesting the president was a criminal. Listen to this, and then we'll let you react.
Do you still believe the president could be a Russian asset?
I think it's possible. I think that's why we started our investigation, and I'm really anxious to see where Director Mueller concludes that.
More and more, I come to the conclusion that after the Helsinki performance and since, that I really do wonder whether the Russians have something on him.
I use the term that this is nothing short of treasonous, because it is a betrayal of the nation. He is giving aid and comfort to the enemy.
What should happen to McCabe, Clapper, and Brennan?
First of all, these men are very un-American. What they've said is outrageous. They should know better. You had the former head of national intelligence under Obama, the former head of the CIA under Obama, a top FBI official under Obama. These three men should be dragged in front of a federal grand jury. They should be testifying about everything they did and everything they knew, because they, particularly McCabe, was involved in a coup effort. They were involved in trying to stop Trump during his campaign, as we pointed out 2 years ago. And now they since have been trying to take this president out. And I don't know what's in this report, and I don't much give a damn what's in this report. The fact of the matter is, they did not indict anybody for collusion. You want to know why? There's 2 reasons. There's no such crime as collusion. And number 2, whatever it is, nobody did it. Now, not a single person prosecuted for collusion. If anyone's going to be prosecuted for collusion, whatever that is, it ought to be the Clinton campaign, the DNC, it ought to be that damn law firm, it ought to be Fusion GPS, and those 3 stooges that you just showed us on TV. Not a single criminal statute was even cited when Mueller was appointed. He violated his own regulations. Listen, Rosenstein appoints Mueller special counsel, right, to investigate. He does it after Comey's fired by the President of the United States. Who recommended that Comey be fired by the President of the United States? Rosenstein. Yeah. And he oversees the special counsel. Have you ever heard anything so stupid in your life? Not a single step. Let's talk about obstruction, because my fear is Mueller will throw a little stink bomb in there. Obstruction. Let me ask you a question. Did the president withhold a single dollar from this investigation? Did the president stop any aspect of this investigation, which went worldwide and went into everything you can possibly think of? Was the FBI thwarted in any respect? No. The only person who was thwarted was Comey, because he was a bad cop. Firing Comey, absolute constitutional right by the President of the United States. And the president was smart. He said, you know what, Mr. Prosecutor? You don't get to ask me about presidential authority. You know why? Not because the president wanted to protect himself. He had to protect the office of the presidency. It's called separation of powers. You know who's acted most responsibly throughout this whole thing, and yet who's trashed every day? The President of the United States. He didn't take a single governmental action to stop the FBI and the Department of Justice, despite the fact that the FBI and the Department of Justice were out to stop him. This is the great scandal in American history, and I mean it. And it's Mediagate, because the media threw in. You couldn't watch CNN, MSNBC, read the New York Times, the Washington Post. Quite frankly, thank goodness for Fox, Fair and Balanced, your morning primetime shows, your nighttime primetime shows with opinion on both sides. If it wasn't for all of that, we'd only have one way in this country with the media. But once again, the media threw in with the government. The media threw in with the Hillary Clinton campaign. Let me ask you this question. What do you think the Russians think today?
Yeah.
They're laughing.
They're thinking they're not going to extradite the people who were charged in Russia by the special counsel. That's for sure.
Absolutely. Mark Levin, you were right 2 years ago before anyone else was, and you're speaking truth again today. Thank you so much for joining us this morning and for everything you talked about. We appreciate it.
Thanks, Mark.
Check out his program Sunday nights. Appreciate it.